got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's lawn.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries, Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV, youthful, full of vigor and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space, exposing the wrongs, applauding the rights, dissecting the news without fear or favor, through factual and accurate stories and contents.
Corruption kills three things and makes a society.
Representing the interests of the people and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television, truly a voice for the people.
Hello there, good evening and welcome to Diaspora Perspective show, home and abroad on Voice of the People Television, VOP. Now we are transmitting on SLTV channel 202. I am Chukwuma Okoro. Before we get into the proper discussion, we encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our page. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV, and on other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. You can also be a part of this conversation by sending in WhatsApp messages or calling in on the number showing on your screen. Now the number is 0904-473-2605. Today we'll be looking at three big stories. Now, bid to recall Natasha fails as INEC says signatures fall below required 50% plus one. Away from that, President Tinubu on a 2-week working visit to France, even as Storage Bello, bandit kingpin, announces availability with the killing of 12 farmers in Sokoto State. Well, joining me to make sense of all these, we have the flagship. The flagship is a clinical research operations lead and business entrepreneur based in Atlanta, Georgia. We also have KJ. KJ is a media production expert. He's also into training and joins us from Maryland. Both of them joining us from the United States of America. We also have Sho. Sho is an IT expert with interests in international relations and economic development. And he joins us from Kent, United Kingdom. Gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the Diaspora Perspective show. Good evening, KJ. Good evening, Flagship. Good evening, Show. Good to have you on this show.
Thank you for having me, and good evening to you viewers.
Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Okoro, and thank you for having me.
Good evening, Show. Good to have you. KJ. Okay. Now, KJ is going to join us shortly, and we hope to have Dr. Damages as well, who joins us from New York City, United States of America. Now, before we move to the main topics of discussion, let's look at other interesting trending stories within the polity. Well, constitutional limit, Trump floats third-term possibility. President Donald Trump of the United States recently mentioned that people are asking him to run for a third term, despite the U.S. Constitution's 22nd Amendment, ratified in 1951, which prohibits a president from serving more than 2 terms. Well, Trump told reporters he hadn't looked into it, while some speculate about possible loopholes or alternative scenarios. Some legal scholars argue that a twice-elected president could potentially serve a third term through succession or acting roles, but these interpretations are highly contentious. You remember the House of Reps member and the gloves, or I think his name is something, and on top of my head I can't recall his name. But he was the one that set to a motion to amend the Constitution so that Trump could run for a third term. And when Trump appeared on NBC News service, he was interviewed, he said, well, I wasn't joking about it. It's possible. I could actually run for a vice president, and when the vice president steps aside, I could become president again. In all of this, let me come to you. Let's move away from the United States. Let me start with you, Sho. So what's your reaction to Trump's third-term bid, and how do you think it is going to impact Africa, especially when we have a continent where leaders have changed constitutional terms to extend their tenure in office? Most times we go over to the West, US in particular, to copy what suits us. But adventure, Trump gets a thought. So if it happens in America, it can also happen here. Let's have your broad reaction to what is trying to play out in the United States of America and how it impacts Africa.
Thank you, Chukuma. So it hasn't come as a surprise that someone like Donald Trump has toyed with the idea of a third term. Trump typically reminds me of, it strikes me as, someone who would do well in African politics. The only saving grace that they have in the US is because they've built, people before them, their forefathers, have built strong institutions. And that's the only thing that will stop a Trump third term. Every time, Trump comes up, I just imagine if Trump was the Nigerian president, it would fit like a glove. The sort of politics we have, the level of our politics. Imagine Trump being the president of Nigeria. I mean, a lot of people would often say the Nigerian president is the most powerful president in the world. Imagine having someone like Trump as the Nigerian president. It would take us to uncharted territories. So, to your question, the idea that Trump has even said it is enough. And pay attention to some of these African leaders. You will start hearing them saying things like, even in America, President Trump was thinking of a third term. You would hear some of their surrogates, of the African president surrogate. Don't be surprised if someone like Daniel Bwala comes out tomorrow and tell you that, if a man is doing well, why shouldn't he have a third term? That even President Trump floated the idea of a third term. So even if Trump doesn't do a third term, which he will not do because of the strong institutions the US have built over the years, which we're hoping that we will build over the years as well, even without Trump doing a third term, I can bet you my bottom dollar that surrogates of African presidents would reference it, definitely would reference it, and it will be some of the reasons why they would start changing constitutions. Even without changing constitutions, I mean, look at Paul Biya in Cameroon. He's been there since 1982, I believe, or 1981, and even before that, he was their prime minister. So some of them have been there for 40 years, so they don't even need Trump per se. But this thing that Trump has toyed with, which will not happen, would be something they would reference when they start changing constitutions. Don't be surprised. I mean, Tinubu won't do a third term. He won't even ask for it. But some of his surrogates will start talking about the idea of a third term. So it doesn't bode well for Africa that Trump is even joking about it. He should know better. He shouldn't joke about it. But it does not bode well for Africa at all, because we already have people who have such crazy ambitions.
All right, thanks very much. I like your optimism when you clearly insist that it's not going to happen in America. But a lot of people are very cautious with that level of optimism, given that Trump has done a lot of things that that are unimaginable, things that American presidents never did. Like we know that there were deportations clandestinely. We even understand that Obama deported more than Trump in his first tenure, but it wasn't in the open like this. The way Trump has done it brazenly, the executive orders, pulling out United States from World Health Organization, from trying to pull United States out of NATO and all of that. And I like your optimism that because of strong institutions in America, that it's not going to happen. But a lot more people all over the world are very cautious with that level of optimism. Anyway, let's bring in Flagship, who lives in the United States of America, by the way. And let's get a feel of Mr. Flagship. Can you help us understand the feel? How do people in America react to Trump's third-term ambition? Is it something that they wish away, or is it something that they are very cautious, considering who Trump has become lately, especially Trump 2.0 presidency? Hello, Flash? Okay, go ahead. I can hear you.
Okay, this is Ing on the line from Lagos.
You hear the words of Trump, that it is the people that are asking him to run for a third term, and he has not considered it. It's something that it's imaginable. To start with, it's not going to happen. I can tell you that. Like Shaw said, the U.S. has built on a strong constitution that has lasted for 248 years. And this year will be 249. I do not think in any way, I do not believe, let me not say I think, Trump does not have the capacity to overturn that and set a precedent that will lead America out of its global power and stage, that will not bring up nations that are, for lack of a better word, below it, begin to contend with it because of this drastic change.
Okay, sorry, flagship. We need to take. There's a call that's coming in. Let's take the call and even listen to what the guy has to say. Hello, good evening.
This is Enya from Lagos.
Good evening, Enya. Welcome to Diaspora Perspective show.
It's a wonderful show. It's a wonderful show. But I want to tell you one thing for sure, for free. Trump is just floating an information. It's not possible for him to go for a third term. It is written and it is written. If you understand Trump very well, he's the kind of person that says something and watch the atmosphere to see how it's going to fly. But I tell you, America is not Cameroon that have no leadership pattern. It's not going to fly. That's my word for you. Thank you.
All right, thanks very much, Enya from Lagos. Okay, let's go back to you. Let's come back to flagship. Sorry for that call. We needed to take his call and listen to him. He said, look, it's not possible because of strong institutions in America. So let's have your reaction, please.
Well, again, no matter how Trump floats the idea or speaks about it, it is not going to happen. Just like I was saying before your call came in, America has an institution, a constitution, rather, that has held solid for 248 years. And that is not about to change anytime soon. It is not Trump, and it cannot happen. Now, America will not put on the line its sovereignty and also its global power at this time to want to consider a third term, no matter how good Trump does. Even if he decides to come back as vice, it's still not going to happen. Don't forget, the midterms are coming up very soon. And has a very great potential of changing things for him. The judicial system is strong and solid. It's not like anywhere else where a dictator can come and change things overnight. It's not going to happen. There's no way in America that a third term will be allowed by changing the constitution just for Trump. And again, this is not the first time that this idea is being floated. There are many nations that such ideas have been raised. And with a strong judicial system and government, it was shut down. Nigeria was one. Obasanjo tried it. He couldn't pull it off. America is not going to allow it. The people are not that stupid to say they will give Trump a third term. Doge is already causing trouble for already established systems that are here that Trump is trying to shake up with Elon Musk. And a lot of Americans are feeling the pinch as we speak. Between Thursday and today, the US lost about $6 trillion in the stock market. And everybody is beginning to look back now and ask exactly what the plan is. But according to what he said, he's working on something. So a third term, not possible. Not this time.
As I'm not joking. There is one way and there are other ways. And he mentioned one of the ways. I could become a vice president to someone else. And now when the person steps aside, I will effectively become a president. Now, the constitutionality, the legality or otherwise of that track, it's something that is going to be debatable and contentious within the United States. There is something I'd like for us to talk about, and it is the propriety of a third term. Especially, does it look like it's one of the downsides of the presidential system of government? I would like to bring in KJ at this moment. KJ, good evening, KJ, and thanks for joining us. Hello, KJ, can you hear me? Okay, now KJ is not in yet. So let me stay with you, the flagship. Do you think that 8 years, if you look at Africa, if you look at Nigeria in particular, do you think that at the pace at which we are going, that 2 terms, 4 years each of 8 years? Okay, we have KJ back. So KJ, I would like for you to take this question. If you look at, you have been following the conversation. If you look at the rate at which we are going, do you think 8 years is enough for a president to make impact in terms of development? I'd like for you to consider that Lee Kuan Yew spent that Lee Kuan Yew spent 31 years as Prime Minister of Singapore, and he was able to move that country from a down backward, slum-infested country to first world country just within 30 years. Look at what Angela Merkel did in Germany. She was chancellor for 16 years. Obasanjo tried it here in Nigeria, and it failed. Do you think that 8 years is enough for someone to make an impact, especially given the rate of development in Africa? KJ, can you hear me? Okay. Now KJ is out. We are having a network glitch. We go for a short break, and when we return,
from the views on the street
We go to bed empty hunger.
to the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's law.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries, Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV, youthful, full of vigor and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space, exposing the wrongs, applauding the rights, dissecting the news without fear or favor, through factual and accurate stories and contents,
Corruption kills three things and makes a society.
representing the interests of the people and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television, truly a voice for the people. Are you ready to connect with distinguished Nigerians around the world? The Diaspora Perspective is here to share the views of Nigerians in the diaspora on burning issues.
From the street of New York, the royal cities of London, and the bustling cities of Europe, Voice of the People Television brings to you a roundtable and collage of interesting views from Nigerians in diaspora.
Join the host of the show and some Nigerians in diaspora, Dr. Damages, the flagship, Show, and KJ, as they discuss the experiences, challenges, and triumphs of Nigerians living abroad.
Discussing and analyzing everything from politics, culture, policies, career success, and how Nigerians are staying connected to their roots. Showing every Saturday by 2 p.m. West African Time and 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
The Diaspora Perspective, giving a voice to Nigerians abroad. To know the happenings in the maritime sector, join us on the program Maritime Frontiers on VOP TV as we discuss key areas in the maritime sector, from aquaculture, maritime transportation, maritime labor regulation, oil and gas exploration, ferry and passenger insurance, marine pollution and prevention, port operations, and lots more.
Join me on Sundays every 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. on Voice of the People TV.
Maritime Frontiers, exploring Nigeria's blue economy. From the views on the street
We go to bed empty hunger.
to the blaring horns of a hustling city, the loudest voices of the common man got a medium to be heard.
This particular administration, they were coming unprepared.
It's not a bad thing to renovate the president's law.
Through top-notch programming, unbiased reportage of news, sports, business, entertainment, and cultural documentaries, Voice of the People 90.3 FM became a symbol for 21st century media. And now, a new baby is born. Voice of the People Television, VOP TV, youthful, full of vigor and penchant for excellence in the continent's media space, exposing the wrongs, applauding the rights, dissecting the news without fear or favor, through factual and accurate stories and contents.
Corruption kills three things and makes a society.
Representing the interests of the people and giving them a voice. Voice of the People TV is here to stay towards building a fair society. VOP TV, Voice of the People Television, truly a voice for the people.
All right, thanks for joining us again. Now, KJ, let me stay with you. My question was, don't you think that it is good for African leaders to have more than 2 terms if they are, for them to do better than they do within two terms of 4 years each, that is 8 years? I cited the instances of Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore, who spent 31 years as prime minister and was able to change the face of his country. I also talked about Angela Merkel, who spent 16 years as chancellor. Do you think 8 years is enough for African leaders to make any impact?
Let me conclude your train of thought by adding Traoré in Burkina Faso, who has spent 2 years and been able to turn the fortune of his country around and is making a lot of impact in the African country. In fact, right now I saw a documentary 2 days ago, some Europeans discussing his tribes and calling him the most important black person on earth right now. Look, any leader who has the interest of his people don't need 30-something years to make that impact. Any leader who is in a hurry to develop his people don't need even 8 years. Tell you the truth, with 6 years and knowing what you want to do, you can achieve a lot of impact, especially in a nation where almost everything is broken down. There's so much a person who comes with the people in mind in Nigeria can do within a space of 4 years, and then adding 8 years would be an added advantage. If you remember, how long did it take for Dubai to develop to become a destination in the world? How long did it take some of these countries to become what they become today? And remember, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. These things, people have done it. We know how they've done it. We have professors, intellectuals, technocrats, and common sense people in Nigeria who have seen these things being done, and they can create the same thing. Okay. We don't need to develop.
Okay, KJ, I'd like for you to, aside from Traoré, can you cite another instance in Africa or even in Europe where I understand that Norway is the fastest developing country in the, as at the time Norway moved from third world to first world, it took them 48 years. The only country in the world that has beaten that record is Singapore, 30 years. Look at Paul Kagame. Look at what Paul Kagame is doing in Rwanda. How long has it taken him to do that? Apart from Traoré, are you able to cite another instance? Just one clear instance.
Yes, I'm going to cite an example. I'm going to cite example close home. Remember that before the military interregnum, Akpara, M.I. Akpara was in the east, the prime minister of the eastern Nigeria, was one of the fastest developing economy in the world at that time. Remember that his stripes in the east still remains a hallmark. People are not sincere. Okay. Then if you talk about Europe, what is there to develop in Europe? Everything seems to be running. Every other thing is running. What they're simply doing now is to look for how to maintain their resource, their development. We are not developed. We are still a third world country. Okay. We don't have electricity. We don't have pipe-borne water. We don't have good road. We have no functional institution. In fact, the last institution that had been the ribbon connecting all the other parts has been totally cut by this administration, which is the judiciary. So what else do we have that we can now hold on to say this is the reason why we so everything is lost. We have so much to do than not to do at all.
Okay. Anyway, thanks very much, gentlemen, for your very wonderful takes. Let us see how Trump's bid for a third term is going to reshape the face of politics globally, especially as it's going to affect Africa. Now, let's get into the second trending story. Self-defense. Army, police, and other agencies can't protect everyone. This is coming from Natasha Akpoti, the Director General of the Directorate of State Services, where the Director General of the Department of State Services, DSS, Adeola Oluwatosin Ajayi, has urged Nigerians to take responsibility for their own security, citing the military, police, and intelligence agencies' inability to protect every community from terrorist attacks nationwide. He referenced successful community-led resistance in Bauchi State, where locals fought off Boko Haram insurgents without waiting for security. In Abure, for example, community members repelled an attack, and there haven't been any terrorist incidents since then in that community. Ajayi emphasized that communities must serve as the first line of defense against terrorists and other criminals, with the military and police handling bigger threats. While he encouraged Nigerian elites to promote this model in their communities. Let me start with you again, Show. So the director of DSS, Oluwatosin Ajayi, said, look, more like an admission of the fact that the security agencies are overwhelmed. He clearly said, look, we cannot deploy, the DSS, the police, the army cannot deploy people, troops to all the communities. So what do we have? We have a situation where the communities have to take care of their own security. While some people have condemned that, some are also of the opinion that, look, what the young man, what the DSS director has said is good, because apparently he cited instances like one that happened in Abure, Bauchi, and another in Borno State, where communities mobilized and had to ward off insurgents. And he said clearly, prepare yourself, come to us, we'll give you some certain level of protection in terms of some certain level of cover for the kind of arms that you can use to defend yourself. There's a video where Ajayi said all of that. I would like for us to take a listen to it so that we can understand clearly his position.
They did not only repel them, they seized their weapons. And since then, you can attest to it that you hardly hear about Tafawa Balewa again. What I'm trying to say, the practical approach to mobilizing people, is that you have to get everyone involved. You do not expect the Nigerian Army, police, DSS, to protect every Nigerian or every community. It is not going to work. In the US, if you visit someone in the house, you will be shocked that when the guy hears a police siren, he will just pull his drawer, bring out his gun and keep it. So one of my hosts did that, and I asked him, why are you putting gun here? He said, well, if they are chasing someone and he enters my house, I shoot him first. And that is the layer we have to start thinking about. How can you create first line of defense? The military, police, and other security agencies are to deal with the bigger ones, the organized ones. But it is impossible for us to deploy it to every community in the country. It is unimaginable that any security agencies that has the resources to do it. So as we live here, we all belong to one community or the other. What we have to start experimenting is how we can make the community to prepare first, if the first line of defense for us. General Wahab said it clearly. And for me, there are 3 takeaways from his lecture. By the way, the general and I were guest speaker at one program in our office, so I'm not surprised at his dexterity. He has developed some sort of expertise in what he does. But 3 things for me. He asked us a question. What is our own culture?
Okay, we've heard him. That's the Director General of Department of State Services, Mr. Oluwatosin Ajayi, expressly saying Nigerians you have to defend yourselves because the forces cannot completely deploy to all the communities, fully deploy to all communities. Sure, let me stay with you. What will you say? What do you think of this?
Well, it's an admission of their failure, but in that, it's also preferring solution. Now, the question you want to ask is, to what extent are Nigerians allowed to defend themselves? Because we saw what happened in Urumi. If you ask the locals in Urumi, they will tell you that they were defending themselves. So to what extent are Nigerians allowed to defend themselves? And also, there's a bit of work for them to do. That's the DSS and the police and, our security forces. If they're going to encourage this new suggestion, you want to legalize guns, because he gave an example of the US to say, somebody's host brought out a gun and said, if somebody come into my apartment, stand your ground and all of that. But that's somebody who has a gun. In Nigeria, are Nigerians going to be allowed to carry? Would Nigerians be allowed to own guns? Because there are certain section of Nigerians who own guns and they go around with it. You see them, in the name of taking their cows from north down south, they carry guns. But the host community, who are not willing hosts, are not allowed to carry guns to defend themselves. So it's good that he's saying that they cannot defend us, and we know that it's not rocket science that these guys cannot defend us. I mean, the Nigerian police force altogether is about 370,000 of them. If you do the calculation, is about what? One police officer to about 600 plus Nigerians. So there's no way one police officer can defend 650 people. So we know that they are not capable of defending us. But the question is, to what extent are we allowed to defend ourselves? What sort of weapons are we allowed to use? And if they're talking in terms of vigilante groups and creating communities and, community police and all of that, I think it should still be the responsibility of our security forces to give them a level of training. In some cases, you want to de-escalate issues. So some of these trainings need to be given to the vigilante groups, to, individuals who are interested in defending themselves. But it's a shame. Honestly, it's a shame for our security forces coming out to say, Nigerians, defend yourself. But I hope that when Nigerians start defending themselves, it will not be used against them to say, how can you do this? How can you do that? You are not allowed to do X, Y, Z, because Mr. Jayi wasn't explicit as to what extent Nigerians are allowed to go. How far can they go in terms of defending themselves? And I think, in rounding off, on this question, I think Nigerians have no choice but to defend themselves, really, because one police officer, like I said, it's practically impossible for one police officer to defend 650 people. So Nigerians would eventually have to defend themselves. We just have to agree on the modality so that people won't be arrested for defending themselves.
All right, thanks very much, Sho. Now, let me come to you, KJ. KJ, he said too, there's a part of the video where he said, look, communities, prepare yourselves, come to us, and we'll give you some certain level of protection in terms of the kind of arms that you can carry, that the law allows you to carry. Now, the question will be, if it is then guns, okay, or if it is something like pump action for gaming and all of that, and you have people that are coming with assault rifles, what level of protection do you think that the DSS can give communities?
I'm sorry to disappoint you, Mr. Chukuma, that these are kind of ideas that are called, on fly on the wall kind of ideas. It's not taken from anywhere. This man is just talking because he wants to make. I've not seen. Maybe the flagship will live longer than me in the US. Maybe he knows a particular US county or community or state where if you hear siren, you pull a gun and put on the table. I have never heard it. And if you're going to be pulling your gun and putting on the table each time you hear siren in the US, then you probably not be going to work, because there are many sirens running around. Some of them are police, some of them are fire service, some of them are emergency services, ambulances, and the rest. They are moving almost at every second, going to help people out. So I don't know which of those, if could have told us the state, we'll be able to know what that happened. These are just sorry to use the word, in lack of leaders people don't even know the onions at all. Or the system have thrown them up into leadership and they go there with no idea whatsoever. and they open their mouth and speak unadvisedly. Tell me, this is same country, this same government. This man was in government when they disarmed Nigerians. They asked everybody who had the den gun or double action, pump action, double barrel or single barrel, to bring out their guns. They gathered these things and they took them away, okay, before the invading of the Nigerian communities. And today you're asking them to defend their guns. How are they going, defend themselves? How are they going to defend themselves? With cutlasses, with holes? So the system knows what they are trying to do, and they've gone ahead to do it. And they keep personifying Nigerians to keep dying on the daily basis. If we agree to listen to what Tiwa Danjuma said, General Tiwa Danjuma said many years ago, I'm sure that the communities whom it is badly affected as we are being affected today. Look at what's going on in Bokos. You are telling people in Bokos now to go defend themselves with what? Are they going to use the holes they use in farming to go and defend themselves against people who are carrying AK-47 and above? How are they going to do that? So you see that the people, just like Shaw said, are not being sincere. Okay, now? And then you see, even if you put up the argument for Urome was that the people who are carrying den guns, don't den guns kill people? Den guns, does it not kill? If you shoot at people with den guns, anything that can kill an animal can kill a human being. So it doesn't even make sense when you hear such an argument. And then who is going to license that? What capacity will those communities be able to afford guns that can defend themselves? And he keeps saying all around the world, nobody. Because all around the world, no country allows bandits, sorry to use the word bandit, terrorists to go around terrorizing their communities. Okay, no country allows that. And then you send your forces to go and guide women, guide madam, carry bags for them, and guide politicians. Okay.
All right. Thanks very much, KJ. Now, quickly, Flagship, I would like for you to use just 1 or 2 minutes to tell us the level of protection the community offers you where you live in Atlanta, in Georgia, away from what the government does. What level of community protection do you provide for yourself?
Well, again, if you want me to compare what I get here where I live, it is robust.
Okay.
Robust in the sense that I have state protection, I have city protection, I have county protection, and I have community protection. Within this line of protection that are all embedded within law enforcement, it is, and I have my own personal protection where I'm allowed to carry or keep a licensed gun. As long as I get the license for it, I'm allowed to keep it at home, carry it concealed within myself to protect myself wherever I go to and my family. So this and more are what we get from our government here. And it is so because there are provisions in funding for this. We see the amount of money needed. They give us a budget, they collect it in taxes, and they use it properly to ensure that there is at least maximum coverage within every community, in every city, every town, every state. Now, when I hear the DSS chief speak, I think while he said the truth, but again, I think he just admitted the failure of law enforcement in Nigeria and also the failure of the judicial system. And now it's being put back on the people for them to defend themselves. At $4.1 or $2 trillion of naira that was put in the budget for them, for law enforcement, from the army and the rest of them, it now falls back on the people to defend themselves. I think it is wrong. And if the people are to defend themselves, why is there an outrage over Oromi? They were defending themselves. And they tried to stop the people from coming in and being a menace in their society. And it ended up the way it did. We don't know the details yet. So I think that it's a total failure why he's speaking the truth. But again, we have always said in every one community, do not depend on law enforcement.
All right.
Because they are not designed to protect you.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, the Flagship. Thanks very much, gentlemen. Now, let's quickly chime in on what happened yesterday or what is happening to the Labour Party. Because the Supreme Court yesterday notified the Court of Appeal's recognition of Julius Abure as the national chairman of the Labour Party, ruling that the appellate court lacked the jurisdiction over internal party leadership issues. Well, the Apex Court highlighted that such matters are internal affairs outside the purview of judicial order that Abure's tenure had already expired. Consequently, the Supreme Court upheld the appeal from Senator Esther Nenadi Usman and dismissed the Abure faction's cross-appeal, considering it unmeritorious. KJ, let me start with you. KJ, briefly, what do you make of? Okay, by the way, after this judgment was given, the National Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party, Abure, said, Supreme Court didn't sack Abure. Supreme Court didn't remove Abure. It only said that the leadership of the party is not a judicial one, but an internal affair of the party, which should also be decided by the party. What's your reaction to what Abure said?
To tell the truth, I have begun to fear Nigeria, because I don't know whether we don't understand English. It's a pity. I'm telling you that these people keep manipulating everything that is written in black and white. Even when it's so, even the blind can see what is talked about. Nigerians or the people in Nigerian authority or those in
sorry, KJ, permit me to button at this moment. Who is manipulating who? Is it the man that is speaking, or is it the Supreme Court? Because the Supreme Court clearly said that there is no judicial space. Okay, go ahead.
That's what I'm saying. The people who receive the judgment interpret it the way they want. They tell you what they are going to do and what they're not going to do. There's not been any Supreme Court judgment that comes out that people don't give it a spin. And you see, my major challenge is that the media will follow them and keep giving them back into whatever nonsense they're saying. That ruling is so clear. The Supreme Court said to Abure, your tenure has expired. What else do you want it to say? Your tenure has ended. You have no business being in that position any longer. And it is not even your place to determine that because it is not for the court. That's what the Supreme Court judgment said. It's not for the court to determine who leads a political party because it's not in their purview.
Exactly the point, KJ. The same court went ahead to say, Abure, you are no longer the national chairman. Why didn't Supreme Court ask them to go to the party and reconcile their issues without having to give a proclamation that Abure's tenure has elapsed?
It's simply saying that so what are they saying? The party cannot be without leadership. There's already a leadership that brought the case to the Supreme Court, for which the Supreme Court has ruled in favor of. Why the Supreme Court have to say go back again? There's a people who this party have selected to run the affairs of the party. Abure is the one who is the nuisance in this system. And the Supreme Court has said, you nuisance, leave this place. You have no right to keep trying to assert yourself in the party. Because the party determining the leadership, it depends with them. It's not with you.
All right, thanks very much, KJ. We need to move on. Now, let me bring in Sho. Sho, how much of this Supreme Court judgment do you think will help Labour Party to reinvent itself?
Well, I think, you might call me a conspiracy theorist, but I think the government are playing 3D chess while most of these other guys are playing checkers or draft. I mean, think about it. If they hand over the leadership of the Labour Party to the pro-Peter Obi camp, what does that mean for the purported coalition of the opposition? This merger they've been talking about, Peter Obi is meant to join them in the SDP because Labour Party is not, fully behind them and all of that. But all of a sudden, if they sack Abure and they let Peter Obi have Labour Party, then what does that mean? The temptation is for Peter Obi to think, now have Labour Party, not to myself, but, for lack of better expression, I've got control of Labour Party. So I probably have no need to go and form coalition with anybody. If anybody wants to join us, we're big enough. We had 6 million the last time. So if anybody wants to come, you should come. Then it becomes a bigger issue of, who's joining who is moving to, and egos would play a big part, as you can imagine. So is El-Rufai, who just joined SDP, I mean, not that they can do so. Nigerian politicians can wake up as SDP today and go to bed the same day as NRC. But, is El-Rufai now going to go and join Peter Obi in Labour Party? So all of that, I just think they might just do all of that, all this, their court judgments that holds no weight at all. They might just do it just to throw more confusion because, I mean, if you look at the judgment, on one hand, they are saying it's not our business to decide. On the other hand, we're saying Abure has no business being parading himself as a Labour Party chairman.
Okay.
Like you rightly said, Mr. Okoro, if they're not going to get involved, they should just tell them it's an internal issue. Go and deal with it. We're not involved. We can't settle it for you. But you're giving almost like contradicting judgments. So I'm not sure how this I'm not sure how this helps Labour Party at all. And I'll go back to what I've always said. As soon as Peter Obi lost out, as soon as he lost in court, I thought he should have just started forming a new party. He will have given himself 4 years to form a party, solidify, and go for it in 2027.
All right, thank you very much. Now, Flagship, let me come to you now. When the issues in Labour Party came to the fore, about the leadership crisis, right from Apapa to Arabambi to give us account, don't give us account, we don't have records, how much you do spend as a presidential candidate, we don't have records and all of that. When the crisis started, recall the convention that was supposed to hold in Umuahia, how it was moved from Umuahia to Nnewi, and how P2B wasn't part of the convention, and all the crises within the Labour Party. And people said, Obi, what's your reaction to all of this? Obi said, look, I'm trying as much as I can. At a point, he gave up, and people said, look, if you can't handle the crisis of a small political party, how can you handle a big Nigeria? And he said, look, I am pursuing it under due process. Let us go to court. The court will decide. If you look at everything that has happened and the judgment from the Supreme Court that more like validated Obi's position, what brand of politics, do you think that Obi's brand of politics will be able to take him to the presidency? I mean, when he lost the elections, Nigerians were like, oh, no, we can't take it, waiting for him to say, pour into the streets. He said, hold on, that is not the way to go. You went to the court. He went to tribunal, up onto the Supreme Court and all of that. And when he lost at the court, people said, no, let's roll out the drums. And he said, hold on. We are going to dismantle this rascality bit by bit in piecemeal. So what will you say of Obi's brand of politics? On the other hand, you have people who...
And every other aspect of government is compromised, and I've leaned towards the side of the people who feel that you grab it and run with it. I personally have not always believed that Peter Obi's kind of politics would ever be able to give him Nigeria or the position he's looking for in Nigeria. He needs to reinvent himself. The people who trusted him and said a better way to handle this is to fight them fire for fire. Perhaps they will pull back, but he said no. And I think that was the point that he missed it. So this gentleman politics, if he intends to go back in 2027, and do it, it's not going to fly. And I think he's beginning to pick up a little bit of charge here and there by virtue of the way he speaks and confronting the present administration. But it's something he should have done way back in 2023, right there when the results were called. And it was not in favor of what was the actual result that should have been announced. So his style of politics is not going to cut it.
Okay.
He has to be a little bit more aggressive.
More aggressive, okay.
These guys, they do not believe in gentleman politics.
All right, thank you very much, Flagship. Thanks very much, gentlemen. Now let's get into the big story itself, the major story of today's discussion. Now, Senator Natasha's recall does not meet constitutional requirement. That's coming from INEC. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has rejected a petition to recall Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan, senator representing Kogi Central, citing failure to meet constitutional requirements. Well, the petition, which aimed to recall Akpoti Uduaghan from Kogi Central Senatorial District, did not meet the 50% plus one threshold of registered voter support as mandated by Section 69, subsection A of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended. This decision comes amid controversy with allegations that the recall effort was politically motivated by allies of former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello, whom Akpoti Uduaghan has publicly criticized. Well, there were also claims that voters were misled into signing the petition, believing it was for an empowerment program. A federal high court in Lokoja has issued an interim injunction against INEC's actions on the recall petition, citing fraudulent signatures, with a hearing scheduled for May 6, 2025. Let me come to you, KJ. Finally, INEC says, look, the petition to recall Natasha has failed because it didn't meet the constitutional threshold. Out of the 200, I think they got 43.83%, short of the 50% plus one that is required, to begin the process of recall. If you look at what transpired, do you think that the people that are pursuing Natasha, that they simply gave up, or is it that the people behind her have overpowered the other forces? Is there a way you can help us understand what transpired, if you can?
Yes, sir. Let me say this, Mr. Chukuma. The people who are trying to unseat Natasha Akpoti, Senator, have not given up.
Okay.
They've gone back. You see, I read carefully the worded letter that INEC wrote, and I must have to say, without prejudice, my own thoughts, that INEC is also part of those playing along with these miscreants, because you cannot tell me that if you are authentically looking at the letter, the first thing to look at is the address that the letter came from. The address the letter came from had no place in Lokoja. And so even with that alone, it's already fictitious. But for you to have even gone ahead to try to look for whether they meet the threshold, for me is is illegal, is evil, and the only reason why this seems to be simmering down right now, because the people the people rose up in total condemnation. In fact, the whole nation rose up in condemnation of this. But does not mean that INEC and the people who are trying to unseat her have given up. Let's nobody. You see, they themselves wrote a letter saying, "Oh, thank you so much for this effort. We will now go back and receipt." In other words, they are still not giving up. So, and INEC refused to answer whether it is a one-time, one-off thing, or people can try as
exactly the point, because in the press statement released by INEC said no further action on this. When they said no further action, what's that supposed to mean? Because at a point, I think that was yesterday, Natasha and the PDP. Okay, there's a call coming in, KJ. Maybe let's just hear what the person has to say. I'll come back to you, please. Hello, good evening.
Hello?
Hello, good evening, and thanks for joining us. This is the Diaspora Perspective show. Your name and where you're calling from, please.
This is Aina from Lagos.
Okay, Aina again. Good to have you back.
Yes, this is a wonderful program. I enjoy this program.
Thank you.
Now, the point here is that they are trying to pull down Natasha Akpoti. But the real question is, are they really pulling her down, or they are pushing her up? Because from what we are seeing, she's gaining more and more momentum. And I tell you, this woman can spring up surprises in 2027.
Okay.
So I will advise those, if you look at the trend, after the people that signed their withdrawal, that they want to recall her back, and then the way she flew in and the support she got made even INEC to know that this was just a hoax. And I tell you, they are just making the woman unnecessarily popular. And I tell you, this woman can spring up surprises. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks very much, Ejina. Thanks for coming to the Diaspora Perspective show. Now, back to you, KJ. So, like as I said, Natasha herself said, look, and even PDP raised alarm that, look, these people are regrouping. Now, the question will be, why are they regrouping? Is there a possibility that they could file a fresh petition? And they didn't say that. I asked a lawyer, and the lawyer was like, neither here nor there. I recall what happened to in the same Kogi West the other time when that was 2017-18. When they tried to recall Dino Melaye. They tried once and it failed, and they didn't go back. So I'm trying to help. Can you help us understand?
Yes.
We hear that these people are regrouping, what essentially are they trying to do?
Mr. Chukuma, the law in Nigeria applies to to whom it may concern. In other words, if it concerns you, your own may be different. If it concerns me, the interpretation may be different. Interpretations can be given to one law to different kinds of 10 people involved can get different judgments. So in this case, it applied to Dino Melaye once, they didn't go back. Natasha, they may apply 3-4 times until they get what they want, because the system is willing to be bent over by whoever is the piper, that dictates the tune. And so, as long as they are bent on what they are doing, what they want to do, they're going to keep on. And now, but whether Natasha will overcome, I said on this program that the very first day that Natasha made this call, I said if anybody knows Akpabio should go and tell him not to fight this woman, because she's going to really take him and wipe the slate, and that's what she's doing. So, and she's not going to stop. So my advice to those who are trying to unseat her is that you are wasting your time. You're not going to be able to unseat her because she's aids away ahead of few people. I wish that other politicians, opposition leaders in Nigeria were like this lady, because if they were, Nigeria will not be where it is today, because she has the ability to question the status quo. I said this before. She can question the status quo. That's the kind of people we want in Nigeria, not people who accept a mere pronunciation of a government official to be law. That is not the law in Nigeria.
Okay.
The law in Nigeria is the
constitution. All right. Thanks very much, KJ. I like the word who question the pronouncements of government. Now, even before the recall failed, the governor, Usman Ododo, had given an order, an executive order, more like banning convoys and gatherings in the whole of Kogi State. At a point, the police commissioner said, "Madam, please don't come. We cannot guarantee your protection." And in the midst of this, she flew in with a chopper, and landed to a massive reception in Kogi State. During the reception, she said, "Akpabio and Yahaya are trying to kill me." And she has challenged them. "Sue me if you think that I am wrong." And she said, "One down, two more to go." Moreover, she said, "I have evidence against Akpabio, evidence on sexual harassment against Akpabio." Sure, can you help us interpret all of this? And how do you think it is going to end for Akpabio and Natasha?
Okay.
Sorry, it's for sure. It's for sure.
Okay, all right, thank you.
But okay, maybe after that you can chime in on it too. Sure, go ahead, sir.
Right. If I don't have a crystal ball, so I'm not able to tell you exactly how it would end, because Nigeria is not your usual place where you can predict things and say this is the way this sort of end. She's as if there's nothing to lose, and that's the only way to fight. She's not willing to go down alone. Even if she's going to go down, she's taking the whole Senate down with her. That's the way she's fighting, and I applaud her for that. Now, I'm not saying she's right in her accusation or she's wrong, and that is why a lot of us are saying investigate this. If she's proven to be wrong, let her face the punishment that comes with that. But if she's right, let Akpabio face the punishment. It's almost like the Senate don't want any sort of investigation. It's almost like they're protecting one another. You can see a lot of senators running up and down protecting Akpabio and the rest of it. Maybe if Akpabio is exposed, maybe they'll be exposed as well. But I like the way Senator Natasha is fighting. I like what she did. When they said she shouldn't come, procession and convoy and all of that, she came in and helped in a chopper, like you said. And one thing that you can see is her people are with her. So what a lot of politicians do is you get in there through whatever way, you now turn against the people. When you're in trouble, these same people you look up to defend you. Well, they won't be there except you mobilize them, as we've seen many times. But in Natasha's case, I'm not saying she doesn't give her people stuff, but I don't think she needed to give them anything for the sort of support they're showing her right now, because over the years, she's watered the ground. She's always giving back to them. She's representing them well. She's doing everything they would expect of their senator. So when she's in trouble or she's in need, they were there for her. Solidarity. And how many Nigerian politicians can say their constituents would genuinely come out and defend them the way Senator Natasha's constituents have defended her? This is a lesson you would expect Nigerian politicians to learn, but honestly, I promise you, they haven't learned anything from it. They don't care. One, they believe they will never be in trouble. Secondly, they believe if they ever get into trouble, they would pay their way out of it. But Senator Natasha it's a blueprint for anybody that wants to do politics in Nigeria. Do right by your people. If you go to war, they would go through brick walls for you. They'll be in front of you, they'll be by your side, and they'll be behind you. That is the lesson I've learned from this episode with Senator Natasha and the Senate as a whole. The people they are solidly behind her. And she said something in the interview, which unfortunately we're not going to see many more of because there's a court injunction restraining her from granting interviews. So she's no longer allowed to grant interviews. Akpabio is no longer allowed to grant interviews. Not that he's granted any interviews. So that injunction, it was to target Senator Natasha, because they didn't just want to say Senator Natasha is no longer allowed to grant interviews. They stylishly included Akpabio, who's not granting interviews anyway. But during the last interview she did with one of the channels in Nigeria, she did say that she's got evidence. If they think she's lying, go ahead and sue me, because that's libel. If you're saying somebody is trying to, kill you, eliminate you, and the rest of it. And she's saying, I've got proof. She mentioned the name of the senator that drove Yaya Bello to meet Akpabio and all of that. So she's got evidence. She's a senator. So definitely there will be people who will be giving her information of things still happening, at the National Assembly. So I don't know how this would end, but whichever way it ends, I hope aspiring politicians have learned a thing or two from Senator Natasha, because she has shown us how to fight the establishment. She's fighting as if this would be a last ever fight.
Okay.
And she also said in 2027, depending on the consultation she has with her people, with her husband, with her family, she might be even stepping up to do bigger things. So who's to say this woman is not going to contest for governorship in 2027? And I will be here for that. I will be fully watching and supporting her if she decides to run for governorship of Kogi State in 2027.
All right, so I'll come back to you still on this Natasha issue. But before I come to flagship, KJ, you wanted to react to something a question that I asked Show. Please go ahead quickly, as quickly as you can.
Okay, no, you go ahead, sir. I've lost my train of thought, but I think Show did a good job.
Okay, now flagship. If you look at the whole recall process, let's take away Natasha out of it. If you look at the process, the 50% of the total number of registered voters, the signature and address verification, the yes and no vote itself, in all the polling units within that constituency, is there a possibility that in Nigeria, the constituents will one day be able to recall a representative, a legislator, at any point in time? I said, let's take away Natasha out of it. Let's look at the process. Is it possible that a legislator could be recalled in Nigeria?
Oh, yes, it's very, very possible.
Okay.
And when this started, I was excited and happy when this recall thing was began in Kogi State, Kogi Central. And my hope is that I hope all Nigerians are paying attention to what's happening in Kogi State, that there is provision within the law for you to recall any member of your representative that are out there. There is a process. You can start it, you can complete it, you can follow it, and you can bring them back home if they are not doing what you've sent them to the Federal House of Assembly to do. So in Nigeria, it is possible. And I'm glad that the people who started this process, or the lady who championed it, it's not an older lady. She's young. So she knows that there is something of this nature, that she could start it and gather information, although she did it fraudulently, but it could be done and applied, and the representative can be brought back home. So a simple answer to your question is yes, it can be done. Now, the other part for me is this. I'm surprised, and I agree with KJ in the beginning when he said that INEC is playing part on this one. In 2020, when the election was held here, the election that Trump lost was held in America. You remember Trump got into trouble here in my state, Georgia, and he got booked, and he got that famous mug shot that was flying everywhere around on the internet. The reason why that happened was the conversation, a phone conversation that Trump had with the governor of Georgia, where he said, I want every single vote counted, and I want them to be accounted for. That was the only thing that got him into trouble, that he ended up almost going to jail. So in Nigeria, how come it is that INEC, seeing that the process, the charade that was put in place in this recall procedure that young lady started in Kogi was all a sham. And there are video evidence to see how they collated signatures. And then you find out that these things do not match. And you look at the voters register. You found out that they collected the voters register and were copying names, addresses, and forging signatures. And these people are still walking free on the streets in Kogi State, and nobody is answering to the law. It's very, very saddening to see and hear that.
Okay, all right, okay.
It can be done, and I hope that...
Okay, it can be done, it can be done. Now, Flagship, on top of your head, can you recall the last time, have you ever heard in your state, in Georgia where you live, has there ever been a time a legislator, whether a senator from DC or senator from in Atlanta, has been recalled, or any legislator recalled in the state of Georgia?
There is actually one going on right now.
Okay.
That is in the process of being recalled. And the reason that is happening is because of mismanagement of funds.
Okay.
He took a trip abroad that has nothing to do with his community. And now he's being faced with being recalled. So yes, it's done. I have to look back and find out who it has happened to in the past. But
okay. All right. Before you do that, can you, if you can you elaborate the process for us briefly? What is it like? What's the process like?
So again, you remember the House of Rep or representatives that are sent to DC or the state level were sent there by the people, by votes.
Okay.
If they find out that the rep or whoever it is not doing what they are sent to do, there is a process. It only starts with signatures. You collect signatures from all voters in the district or the constituency rather. When the right number of signatures are collected, they tender that to the Voters Commission, and then the process begins where they now start reviewing, and everybody has to be contacted. Every signature that is put there must match that the person that signed that document is within the constituency and is a duly approved voter. You cannot just sign papers if you have not registered to vote, your name is not in the voters register, then it becomes fraudulent. But yes, it starts with the collection of signatures, and that is tendered to the commission, and the review process begins. And the rest, if not challenged, the representative can be recalled back home and another sent back there.
All right, thanks very much, Flagship. Now, let me come back to you, Show. Okay, KJ and Flagship live in the United States. So I'm just thinking that the process could be the same both in Maryland and in Georgia. So let's get a feel of what it takes to recall somebody in the UK, the Westminster parliamentary system of government. What does it look like? Is it similar to what we have here, or can you just help us elaborate the process as quickly as you can?
It's not an elaborate process. Recalls do happen in the UK. It's a very simple process. So if they want to recall an MP, member of parliament, all they have to do is to sign a petition, and it's open for 6 weeks. So if you decide to recall someone, the petition will be open for 6 weeks, and all you need to recall someone is 10% of the people in that constituent. It's that simple. If you can get 10% of the constituent to sign the petition, the MP is coming back home. Simple.
10%?
10%.
Oh, man. What it then means is that the legislators are always on their toes.
And that's why they behave. 10%. That's all you need. And they'll be coming home. It's simple.
So, okay, it's as simple as that. So, don't you think that this our own process is cumbersome? And more
of course it's deliberate.
More like an impossibility. Okay, it's deliberate.
See, when people say Nigeria is not working, I say to them, for who? You have to specify that, or you have to be specific when you say Nigeria is not working. Nigeria is working for the people who designed it. They've designed it to work in a certain way, and it's working perfectly for them. Do you think they want you to recall them with a 10% signature? No, they don't, because that would be too easy. So they make it 50 plus 1, so how do you get 50 plus 1? You need to get the addresses of the people. You need to get things that are not easy to come by. They've put so many hurdles for you to recall a legislator. So it's intentional. It's cumbersome for a reason. It's not by accident. It's by design.
All right. Thanks very much, gentlemen. Now, let's get into the second topic of discussion. We are running out of time. Working visit, President Tinubu jets out to France for 2 weeks. Well, my guest is giggling. Nigerian President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has embarked on a 2-week working visit to France, where he will review his administration's achievements and assess key milestones. During this trip, Tinubu will also engage in strategic planning ahead of his administration's second anniversary, focusing on deepening ongoing reforms and accelerating national development priorities. Well, this isn't Tinubu's first trip to France. In February 2024, he spent 13 days in Paris, which was initially billed as a private visit, but reportedly for medical leave. There have been previous reports of Tinubu's health concerns, including exhaustion after his inauguration and visit to see doctors in France and Lagos for medical rest and follow-up care. Well, like we have been told, like we were told by Bayo Onanuga, special advisor to the President of Media and Publicity, that is a working visit. Now, the question would be, what sort of working visit is it for 2 weeks? I mean, KJ, let me tell you, let me ask you this question. Let me bring you in. We heard some people, as an ex-user, said, looks like France has become Nigeria's Camp David, where the president goes to cool off or hold a very strategic meetings. And some people also said that, looks like your president is now France's vice president. How often does the president of the United States of America go outside of the U.S. for a working visit? KJ, please, can you help us understand that? You live in the U.S.
Without even waiting to verify it. There's never going to be a time that the President of the United States of America will leave the U.S. and go to another land for whatever meeting it is. Except, of course, he wants to take a time and just go visit. Why will he go and discuss national issues that have to do with America in another land? Is that crazy? Look, the question is, like I said, is because the people have refused to ask questions. Is there any other president in the world that leaves his country almost at every 2 weeks or 3 weeks instance to go and spend 2 weeks or more in another nation? And then from there, you can now begin to run affairs of your country. Where has it been done? Does anybody take into account how much Nigeria spends each time these trips are made? Because you're going to pay for the parking of your jet in that airport for the next 2 weeks. You are going to pay for the people who are going to go with him, which sometimes may go up to 300 or more. And each of them will collect extra code. In other words, they spend allowances. They will have to run hotel bills. And of course, they will have to eat. All of this will be on government money. Can't we think? Is anything wrong with Nigeria? How many times have the president of France come to Lagos or come to Nigeria for a working visit? Is there any other president in the world, no matter how small that country is, that go to another nation for a working visit? Why are we behaving like this? People are laughing at Nigeria all around. They ask you, are you guys still a nation? What is happening? Don't people think? Nobody's going to ask questions. And Bayo Onanuga will put up some statement. This same Bayo Onanuga we all read from when we are growing up and wanted to be like Bayo Onanuga when we become journalists. Today we are journalists and we are afraid of even reading from Bayo Onanuga, who cannot even question the status quo. What is happening? How come that each person who is vibrant in the public, in a private sector, when they come into government, they begin to behave like non-entities? Can't you people advise this person? In the first place, it is even against national interest. Those who are talking about security and all the rest, is it right for the Nigerian secret to be going to France every 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 1 month, and then from there you'll be communicating with your own people on security issues, on national interests? How are we the ones who own that line that we're using to communicate with the president? How do we know? How are we sure that no other country has intercepted that line and they are now reading and understanding whatever moves that the Nigerians are making? Is there no place that the president can go for Camp David? Even Camp David here is in America. Is there no other place that Obudukato Ranch is there? There is a very beautiful golf course in Akwa Ibom where you can, the Meridian, okay, where they can host the president and all his ministers or whoever wants to be there. And they can be able to hold a peaceful meeting in that place. There is the Obunike Lake There is other resource around. Look at Yankari Game Reserve. If we are a thinking nation, the president by now, who is interested in the development of his country, would have developed Yankari Game Reserve and made it secure that other nations can come to it. Why are we behaving like this? Do we not have brains? Isn't there some people that we are that other people are? Are we not ashamed?
Okay.
Can't nobody speak?
Okay. KJ, you sound very, I can see you are venting, but let's cut the president some slack. You know, someone likened it to like, you are building a house. You are an architect. You draw the house. You don't draw the house from inside. So you do what? You take what they call an architectonic stance. You stay from outside. Look at the building, review it, and see if there are rough edges, rough parts that you need to, stressing out. Some people say that is exactly what the president is doing. Go outside, stay from France, then beam your searchlight on Nigeria to see where things are going wrong.
So let us think. Let us now use Nigeria as an example. When IBB was building Abuja, how many times did he go outside to go and look from outside to see what he was doing? How many of our Nigerian presidents have gone?
He was a military leader. Was he welcome outside? He wasn't.
Okay, so when Obasanjo was doing all the good work he did by bringing all these institutions that are running now, I think the good work he did.
Obasanjo was a traveling president. Obasanjo was a globetrotter. He traveled far and wide.
Okay, so now let us continue to travel. Now, what we should ask ourselves is that since I've been doing all these global travels, how much has come to Nigeria? Trump did not leave America.
Last year, by November, they said that they had raked in, that this administration, the administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, had raked in $30 billion in FDI, foreign direct investment inflow into Nigeria. $30 billion.
If we have raised $30 billion, how come we're still borrowing money to run the government?
No. In investments, that investors came in with $30 billion.
Investment,
yes.
Look, okay, let me still give you an example of the United States. At the end of this month, Trump declared, the government declared that they've been able to add 229,000 jobs. So what we are saying is that, what I'm simply saying that if the investment has been coming in, how come we're not seeing the job creation? How come people are still looking for food, for jobs? How come the youths are roaming around everywhere? Okay, we are not being sincere with ourselves. Let's not kid ourselves. And nobody is going to change the status quo except we rise up to change it. Whether we like it or not, whether the governors like it or not, no matter who is in government, nobody is going to come and develop Nigeria for you. If you like, you finish doing whatever you're going to do, spend all the Nigerian resources, globetrot around the universe. At the end of the day, you and I will come back to a broken country where your life and my own will not be safe. So it's simple and short. How can you leave the fire on your roof and go around and be chasing rats? It doesn't happen that way. Look, how can the African nations be running away from France and Nigeria is the one going to France? How can we see the development coming from those countries that have dislodged themselves from France and how well they are doing, and we are not the ones carrying ourselves to tie to the same system that have kept those countries the way they were? Look, it doesn't make any logical sense to me. It doesn't make any logical sense to anybody who is being.
Okay, if you ask that question, are you aware that France is coming to help us in the solid mineral development sector? Are you aware also that there is going to be a military cooperation, security cooperation between France and Nigeria to help us fight insecurity?
If that military cooperation have been working that France have been working, I don't think they believe in Mali. I don't think they believe in Niger. I don't think they believe in Burkina Faso. They have been there for years. Nothing came out of it. And mark my words.
Maybe Nigeria will be able to manage France better than those countries.
We ain't going to manage nothing. I mean, look, Mr. Chukuma, of course, you know these things are not true. Okay? We are not going to manage nothing. Nothing is going to come out of it. That is why I say, until we move away from writing policies to suit our friends and cronies, if not because Tinubu is president, no Nigerian president will be hobnobbing with France. None. These are people who soldiers have never even lay their life on the soul of another nation. Go and check your history.
But
and
are
then
you aware too, KJ, are you aware that France has substantial business interest in Nigeria?
You see, I don't let me speak Igbo language. You know, the thing is, how much does it amount to?
Okay.
That's what we are saying here. How much does it amount to? Whatever France is going to bring, France can never love Nigeria better than their own.
And by the way, are you aware that France is Nigeria's 4th largest trading partner in Europe? After Netherlands, UK, Italy, the France is the next. So shouldn't we have a relationship with France?
They are the people that they have been, that, you know, by the policy of assimilation, a francophone country, African, is supposed to be a French citizen. What have they done for those colonies that are theirs, that they claim to have hold over? What more of we that are Anglophone? We are more British. Okay, is there any time we're going to change our national outlook to become more France than Britain? No way. Is there any time we're going to change our political system to suit theirs? No. These people that are part of you, what have you done for them?
Okay, thanks very much, KJ. Now let's bring Sho into this conversation. Sho, I would like for you to help us understand working visit. When they say working visit, what it essentially means is that the president is more like working where he is. He's not on vacation. He's on a working visit. Now, does that preclude him from transmitting a letter to National Assembly, handing over to the vice president? Because some people have alleged that, looks like there's a crack in the wall between the president and the vice. We don't see much of the vice president doing. By the way, he sent the vice president to go to Senegal yesterday to represent Nigeria, represent himself, and represent the president during the 65th independence anniversary of Senegal. So why didn't he? 2 weeks, 14 days outside the country, and you say he's on a working visit, you are not on vacation or what, yet you are unable to transmit a letter to the National Assembly handing over to, is there some sort of suspicion between them? What do you think is going on?
Well, I think there might be trust issues. You know, these guys, they don't trust each other. It's a marriage of convenience. They needed each other. That's why they're working together. It's not like Tinubu particularly cares for Shettima or Shettima cares about Tinubu. It's just that I need you, you need me, let's work together and capture Nigeria or grab it, run with it, whatever they said. That's why they're working together. I mean, if you look at most times when Tinubu travels, Shettima is always out of the country as well. So when I heard that Shettima was also in Senegal, I just thought, okay, here we go again. Nigerians are quote-unquote fatherless since they've decided to arrogate those titles to themselves. When the First Lady went to Edo State or Delta State and they were calling her somebody's mother, and the children or the nurses in training said they are not, Mrs. Tinubu's daughter, and it became an issue. So Nigerians are fatherless right now. The fathers of the nation will just japa at will, and they're trying to discourage japa when the president himself is the number one japa, advocate by his actions. It's never in Nigeria. He's gone to France 7 times. What exactly are you looking for in France? What I would say is, if he decides to take a break, why not take a break within Nigeria? Wherever you go to as the president to take a break, a lot of Nigerians will think, oh, that must be a good place to go and relax. If it's good enough for the president, it's good enough for me. It would even attract foreigners to want to say, there's a particular place in Nigeria that the president goes to relax. Whenever it's not there, we would visit, to see how good that place is, how relaxing you should be the number one marketer, the chief marketing officer for Nigeria. But no, you would run to France, and I heard you talk about the FDI. As my Gen Zs will say, I hope it's not audio money, all this 30 billion, 30 trillion that you said they've been able to attract. I hope it's not audio money, as they call it. Also, your question, I think you were saying, is it working? Is it on holiday? They said it's a working visit, so which means it's basically working from home. And if you're working from home, if you have that sort of contract, you can work from anywhere in the world as long as you're not required to be in the office. I guess Nigerians should be able to confidently ask their employers or prospective employers to say, I want to work from home. If the president of Nigeria can work from France, I should be able to work from home as well, especially considering, the price of transportation in Nigeria, the price of petrol, diesel to run your cars, to go to offices. So I think Nigerians should be bold enough to ask their employers to say, you know what, I want this job, but I want to work from home 5 days in a month. If the president can work from home, can work from abroad, I can work. I mean, what work is he going to do in France that he cannot do in Nigeria?
Sorry, he said he's going to review his administration strategic vision and how far he has gone, especially now that he's going to celebrate his second anniversary in office.
That is fine. Everyone needs an appraisal, and I'm not saying he shouldn't do that. But what I'm saying is, what stops him from doing it in Nigeria?
Maybe he could see better from outside.
No, there's nothing to see better from outside. This fuels the rumors that is always going for medical tourism. Because, I mean, what exactly is in France that you keep going so frequently? And I've said it jokingly that whatever charger they are using to charge up our president, the French people should just sell it to us. It might be cheaper for us to buy it as a one-off rather than subscription. Let's just buy it and take it to Aso Rock and charge our president whenever it needs to be charged. What's all this nonsense of going to France every 6 weeks, every 4 months? You're off to France, working visit, working holiday. There's no name they've not called it. He needs to stay in Nigeria. I mean, and I'll say this lastly on this topic. This is why I get irritated when I see people, all this moral police, the West, when they come and say, oh, there's a coup somewhere in Africa. While I don't advocate for coups and the rest of it, but you see them and say, we're going to place sanction on particular countries. There's been a coup, there's been this, when it's convenient for them, they turn a blind eye. Now, President Tinubu is going to France. I'm sure he's not spending naira. He's taking dollars to spend there. The foreign exchange we're saying that we don't have, our foreign reserve is been depleted. You might say by how much, not by much. Whatever he takes out of it to take to France to go and spend, we could have done something else with it. He keeps taking this money. He's clearly not spending naira in France. Okay. Nobody's taking that from him. So, he goes to France on a regular basis. The Western world, they're happy with that because the money is coming to their economy. I mean, example of Paul Biya. You might say, why am I fixated on Biya? I think he's one of the most unfortunate human beings around. So Paul Biya is the president of Cameroon since 1982 or 1981. He spends more time in Switzerland. This guy spends, on the average, it's estimated to be about $40,000. That is what it cost Cameroonians to keep the president in Switzerland. And what does he say? He said it's more relaxing. He gets to do more when he's in Switzerland. He stays in a hotel, Intercontinental Hotel, but he has the Unity Palace. That's the name of their own presidential villa in Yaoundé in Cameroon. He hardly stays in Cameroon. He's been in Switzerland for the last, 10 years. He just visits Cameroon. And that's the president. And he's been there forever. But the West have no issue with this man. The minute somebody decides to kick him out, a military guy, then the West will come and start saying, oh, there'll be sanctions on Cameroon. We're going to punish the military junta. But you have a president who lives in a hotel in Switzerland. And I'm worried that our president is on that track. He's going the same direction.
Okay.
Why are you always going to France?
Okay.
Stay at home, fix your problems. Make Nigeria habitable. If you, the builder of Lagos, the man who found Lagos, the man who discovered Lagos and built it from scratch, there should be hospitals, there should be resorts, there should be places good enough for you in Lagos to stay and relax.
All right, thanks very much. So you just said something about coup attempt. You know, there was a coup attempt. I think the Traore of Burkina Faso survived a coup attempt over the week. And are you aware of that? Something like that happened.
They've tried to take the man out over 20 times.
Okay.
Over 20 times they've tried to take him out. And I worry for him. I hope he's safe. I hope they don't succeed because because he's not pandering to the West. So they will do everything to get some of his own people to take him out.
All right, thanks very much. Sure. Now, Flagship, quickly, as you comment on our president's visit to France, something happened over the weekend. The president was spotted wearing something looks like a Patek Philippe wristwatch valued at $61,000. And the equivalent of it at our exchange rate is about 95 million naira. Nothing wrong with that. But the source of worry is, where is the money coming from? If your president sports as 100,000, by the way, Trump is a very wealthy man, so should it be the concern of Americans if Trump wears a $100,000 wristwatch?
Well, I don't think it's our concern. Like you rightly said, he's a wealthy man.
Okay.
He has the money. He can afford it.
Okay.
Trump has a private jet. I think there are a couple of times he's flown on his private jet and not used Air Force One as provided. So it wouldn't bother us, but it will bother us if it's a consistent behavior that he decides to flaunt his personal riches and affluence and want to use it in the White House. Well, no, it's not our concern. We already know he has money. He can afford whatever he's using. So that shouldn't be a concern. Tinubu is rich. He's got the money. So if he's wearing a $61,000 watch, perhaps that's his money. I wouldn't think that that's Nigeria's resources that he's spending.
Exactly the point. The reason why Nigerians are concerned is that Nigerians are asking, probably we just hope that this isn't taxpayer money. Now, are you able to track that in the United States? If Trump wears a $200,000 wristwatch, are you able to track the source of funding?
Yes. Every money that the U.S. president spends is given to him. And guess what? He files an expense report. He has to collect a receipt and provide it, and they have to balance the account out. He doesn't have any free will to spend money on himself. Don't forget he's on salary. And if he buys anything with federal funds or taxpayers' funds that's beyond what has been allotted to him, he's subject to being audited. And if it turns out to be the nation's money that he's spending, he goes down for it. Remember, I told you about a state representative here in the state of Georgia who took a personal trip on state's funds or taxpayers' funds, and he's answering for that today. The mayor of New York did the same thing, I believe, and he's answering to that, although the case was just dismissed with prejudice. So no, Trump cannot use taxpayers' money on lavish spending. It's not allowed.
All right, thanks very much, Flagship. Now we are running out of time, so let's get into the last topic of discussion. Terrorism. Torji Bello announces availability with killing of 12 farmers in Sokoto State. Very sad one. Notorious terrorist leader Bello Turji and his men killed 12 farmers in Lugu town, Sokoto State, Nigeria, after attending Salah celebrations. The attack occurred on Wednesday, April 3, 2025, as Turji's group returned from their festivities, while locals had alerted security agencies about Turji's planned visit, but no effective action was taken, according to resident Basharu Altin Giyawa. A local security official, Sani Abubakar, confirmed the incident, stating that security personnel received reports of Turji's movement and deployed measures to prevent his entry into Sabon Birini. Turji's group also attacked Tozai village, killing the leader of a local vigilante group. This incident highlights ongoing security concerns in the region, where Turji's gang has been known to impose fines on communities, such as a recent 22 million naira levy on 4 villages. Gentlemen, here we are again. Insecurity, terrorism, banditry all over Nigeria, rampaging, killing people. Torji Bello celebrated Salah as a Muslim faithful that he is, Eid with his people. And after that, you know, Nigerian government, Nigerian military have been looking for him. Say, we are going to get him, we have information, he's on the run. When we got his cousin, he ran away and all of that. Now, to announce his presence, I'm still around. He killed 12 farmers in Sokoto State. KJ, what is that supposed to be? And in all of this, we have a military high command. We have a president that jets out of the country while his people are being slaughtered like goats, like chicken in his home country. What's your reaction to all of that, KJ?
Of northern elders that are giving the South 24, giving them ultimatum on what to do for the unfortunate incidents that happened in Uromi. Those northern elders have all of a sudden forgotten that what is happening is against their own people, and they should also give Truji, or whatever his name is, the ultimatum also to respond. You see, the thing that we have all of a sudden become a jest in the group of nations. How come these things are going on and on and on and on? Nothing is done. And the army is happy to send 10,000 of their members to River State. You see, last night I just asked myself, how come we normally measure on the minor and minor on the major? How come? You see, this man is telling us that, look, I can do whatever I want to do at any time, and nothing will happen. And he's been doing it and doing it and doing it. But we are more concerned about the ordinary man in the street who is trying to obey the law. We are more concerned about people, we are more concerned about things that don't have any way of helping the nation go forward. The one that will help us become a nation and develop holistically, we are ignoring. Does anybody think, whether you are in the north or the south, or you're a Muslim or a Christian, do you think that if this rampaging group eventually take over the nation, you and your family will be safe? Do you think that? If you think that, please go back and read the history. Go back and look at what has happened in other nations where such things have happened, whether those people were spared. You see, the thing is this, we are fooling ourselves. And as long as we don't come out and sit down and solve the national question, and we keep diverting attention. Look at the other day I was listening to the chief of army staff saying this, what is going on is headers farmers clash. So what happened in this celebration of Easter of Salah was a headers farmers clash. So was farmers clashing with the man who went there to satisfy himself that he's still in authority, decided to buy 12 of our citizens, born citizens of Nigeria, and nobody said anything. Instead, we are gallivanting around the nations. They say we are looking for investment. Which investor will come to invest in a place where nobody, life and property are not secured? Who? Is it that the person don't see United States? Is it that the person don't see other nations in Africa where peace and tranquility is, that they want to come to you? What will be the reason for bringing them to Nigeria? Let us ask ourselves the pertinent question and wake up from this madness. I'm telling you, Mr. Chukwuma, if we don't, it may come to a time where it will be too late. Unfortunately, people will not want to agree with it. But now they have become the best of our prophets these days, because everything he said, for those of us who follow his broadcast, everything has come to pass and they are still unfolding. We better wake up. If Nigeria want to know, go back and listen to what he said. I'm sure that you'll be able to get some, to be able to understand what's going to happen in the near future. Let us wake up from this dream. Let us wake up. It's taking too long. Thank you, Mr. Chukwuma.
All right, thanks very much, KJ. Very sad indeed, very sad. Now, let me come to Flagship. Flagship, what is your reaction to the fact that, look, the military, yesterday, the Guardian, the Nigerian Guardian newspaper ran more like a graph of how much, within in the 2025 budget, the military security is going to get like 3.7 trillion naira. And out of that, the military has about 1.4 trillion naira. The military, 1.4 trillion naira out of the 3.7 trillion naira. The DSS, the police.
That was for the army. If you
okay, that was for the army. That was for the army. Yeah. Now, how much of that has impacted the fight against insecurity in Nigeria?
You and I can, was it not the DSS chief that just told us that they cannot? And the rightful question to ask is, what is the 1.3 that is allotted to the army alone meant for, and where is it going to? What resources are they using it to acquire to combat this nuance that we have in our country? How much of this money is duly applied to provide every weaponry that our gallant men and women who wear our uniform faithfully standing to defend our nation in the small numbers that they are? How much of that is used to properly equip them to fight this nuance? Tunji Bello is out there touting them. It's like a little baby doing na 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 na. Here I am, if you think I'm gone. And the government is not responding. And was it not yesterday or the day before, I heard the defense chief saying to Tunji Bello that, don't worry, you will meet your maker one day. That is the most saddest statement I would ever hear from somebody who is given the job of protecting and going after nuances of this nature when they see them. Tunji Bello is one man. They are telling me that he has social media, he has a phone, he broadcasts from wherever he is that transmits these videos and messages, and yet they cannot find him. I was listening to a news station yesterday in Nigeria, and they were reporting of a guy who left his phone and bag in a keke ride that he took, perhaps out of frustration. When he got to his drop-off point or bus stop, he came out, left it without noticing. But in 3 hours that night, they were able to track the keke driver to his home, where they found the bag that had the phone and the rest of his properties. So it means that this technology is available. Why is it hard to catch this guy? You know what that tells me? The same statement that Sani Abacha made. If insurgency happens in any nation and it lasts more than 24 hours, the government is complicit. They know where this guy is. They know how to get him, but for only God knows what reason, they are not going after him. Like KJ said, if 1 or 2 purported blow-ups in Rivers State would amount in sending out 10,000 of our soldiers, and one man taking out 12 innocent lives, and no response from the government with a trip abroad to go and assess the kind of architecture that he's putting down on his land, is a shame. And with the vice president hopping up to Senegal to go celebrate with a country that is doing right for its people. I think at this point, our leaders just don't recognize what the word shame means, or they're just immune to it.
All right. Quite unfortunate. Thanks very much, Flagship. Now to you, Sho. Sho, you recall that last week, a certain group of elders in the north gave a vote of confidence on the Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawalle, former governor of Zamfara State. By the way, Zamfara State has been under the thumb of terrorists for a very long time. And they said, look, thank you very much, Minister of State. Thank you very much, because we're able to celebrate the Eid in peace. You are doing very well. What sort of vote of confidence is that supposed to mean? Hello, Sho, well, can you hear me? And I'd like for you to wrap it up with your concluding thoughts, because we are almost out of time.
Sure, thank you. So if you ask me what sort of vote of confidence that is, if you don't know the meaning of psychophancy, that is an example of psychophancy. It comes in many shades, in many, colors and forms, but that is psychophancy. People will say anything to who they perceive to be their benefactor. So Matawalle is a minister, junior minister, or whatever, and they believe that he's a man that can help them employ their daughter or son or do this or contracts. So they will say anything. It doesn't matter if they are lying. It doesn't matter if it's true or not. They will say anything that they believe will make him happy, and massage his ego. It's just psychophancy, because who will pass a vote of confidence on our security architecture? Why would you say he's doing well when he's clearly not doing well? Anyway, to this Bello Turji, I think that's his name, you would only find who you're looking for. That is what you find, or who you would find. There's a saying that I said was my famous saying, and I'm quite happy. I was quite happy when the former president, Jonathan Goodluck, used the same when he spoke about the current situation of the country. I've said it many times on this show, 3 months ago, thereabout, that the hardest person to wake up, it is the person that is pretending to be asleep. You cannot wake them up because they are pretending. If someone is genuinely sleeping, you tap on the door, you knock on the door, a little push here and there, they would wake up. So Bello Turji is not being looked for. If they're looking for him, they would find him. He uses gadgets that can be tracked, like Flagship rightly said. He broadcasts. He uses a phone. They have drones. And you're telling me you cannot track them, but if a Nigerian says something about the president or somebody or the president's wife or a famous, preacher, Muslim, Christian, pastor, imam, you would find them in a day or two, and you lock them up because you can track them. But when these guys are giving out money on TikTok and they're doing all this madness on social media, we cannot find them. So I don't think we're looking for these guys. And in terms of rounding off, my final thought would be question to APC supporters. When Buhari was in power for 8 years, they kept telling us, at least personally, I have friends who supported them until the last day of Buhari, saying that Buhari was laying the foundation, that Nigerians would be grateful and thank God that Buhari came into power. Now, is Buhari sustained that he dug the foundation for 8 years? One would think Tinubu would come in, the same APC, the same Tinubu that brought Buhari into office, would just continue, to build on the foundation. But here we are again, that Tinubu supporters, same APC, are telling us that Tinubu is laying foundation. So he's the Julius Berger, the other one is Ousted. Can they stop laying this foundation and can we start building?
All right, thank you very much, Sho. Thank you very much. Now to you, Flagship, can we have your concluding thoughts? If you can, in 45 seconds.
Well, here's what I have to say to Nigerians. There are processes within the system for you to hold your leaders accountable. Kogi just demonstrated it. Begin to look deep into it and start to think about how to begin it, to recall those that are out there that are not representing you right, so that you can begin from somewhere to start to retrace your step, or at least navigate yourselves in the right direction.
All right, thank you very much, Flagship. And KJ, to you, can we have your concluding thoughts in 30 seconds? Hello?
The same thing that the Flagship and Show have said. It is time for us to go beyond just, watching the cycles go on in Nigeria. We should arise now and take positions and arise against the system and call this bluff or this nonsense bluff off, and make sure that we can recall those who are not doing what we have sent them to do, and refuse to accept, for God crying out loud, there's a constitution in Nigeria. If it does not align with the constitution, go to court. Let us form into a cycle, clusters of people. Take these people to court. Let's try the Nigerian law, and not just allowing them to just run shoulders over Nigerians and do whatever they like to do and spend their money anyhow while you all are suffering. I think it's time for us to take our position.
All right,
all
right, and thank you very much, KJ. Now, this is where we end the show, Diaspora Perspective show. I've been speaking with the Flagship. The Flagship is a clinical research operations lead and business entrepreneur based in Atlanta, Georgia, United States. Thanks very much, Flagship, for coming to Diaspora Perspective show. We also had KJ. KJ is a media production expert. He's also into training and joined us from Maryland, United States. Thank you very much, KJ, for being part of the show. We also had Sho. Sho is an IT expert with interest in development studies, strategic international relations, and economic development. Thanks very much, Sho, for coming to Diaspora Perspective show.
Always a pleasure.
All right, big time. Now, this show comes up every Saturday from the hours of 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Nigerian time. We encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our page. On the YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV, and on other social media platforms, we are VOP TV Live. Keep there with us next week for another interesting edition. I am Chukwuma Okoro. Enjoy your night and the rest of your weekend. Bye.